this is our third date, and I already know that you're the one. You're the one for me, and you're the one for him.
And because we are trans and we don't know who is the real one to accept us, I don't want to see it anymore.
No, you can't be friends with your ex. Always will be some problem. You had sex, you have some feelings to them.
How am I gonna fit another car seat in my Lamborghini?
It just doesn't make sense to me. Like, clearly, if strict Muslims aren't going to have sex before marriage. So you are conflicted.
I've heard someone say before that if you ever want to see someone's true colors, watch how they act when you tell them no. Seeing the mask fall off of Loren's face the minute he realizes that Faith is no longer useful in his plan to move to the Philippines is honestly alarming. And the way that Sunny tries to deceive Veah into thinking that converting would be her idea when she's flat out telling him no, as if it were her fault that he just remembered his Muslim values and the fact that he wants a Muslim wife and that his family would only approve a woman that converts, while he has completely evaded the topic. So yeah, we have a lot to discuss. Let's get into it. Hi guys, welcome back to Nikki Faces Reality. You're probably watching this on Christmas Day or Christmas week. So if that's you, Merry Christmas. I hope that you're having a beautiful day, cozy day. I'm Latina, so my Christmas was technically yesterday. I saw my family, we dressed up, we ate some food. Today I woke up late, ate some leftovers, and now I'm talking with you guys. In whatever way you guys celebrate, I hope that it's beautiful. I hope that it's peaceful. In whatever way it comes up for you, I hope that you got what you needed. What I can supply you from here as your interweb bestie is just a little recap on the mess that was B90. We're gonna jump straight into it. Before we do, as always, if you're here, make sure to like and comment because it really does help with the algorithm. And if you're watching and you've been here a few times and you haven't subscribed, make that your Christmas gift to me. Hit the subscribe button. Hi friends, coming to you live, sorta, from my editing cave. The audio is a little funky. I don't know why. This week, I'm sorry. Please accept my offering. It is a holiday week. I recorded over like 2 hours of footage. I don't want to throw it away, and I also can't re-record it. So, sorry, but also thank you. But yeah, you guys, let's jump straight into Loren and Faith because I really do think that this one took a turn. I think that, it's funny. Loren is gross. Loren, makes us uncomfortable in a way. But like, I think it really took a dark turn. And I'll get into it more when we get there. But I was just like, first of all, like this man is a menace, but also just like a menace to his preference because the fact that he has no awareness of how his actions can trigger his preference. Says he wants trans women, but then doesn't understand how his entire personality is a danger to trans women. I'm getting ahead of myself because I'm just like, so as we know, these two got engaged and he wasn't lying when he said that he wanted to go to the immigration office. They went the next day. So they got engaged yesterday. They're going to immigration office today. He leaves to America tomorrow. He doesn't want to go to America tomorrow. So he's like, what can I finesse? So they're talking with the lawyers. He's like, oh, I have options. And he reveals the stupid options that he had already told us before. But the main one being going to Thailand, getting married, and then getting that recognized in the Philippines. That is the one that Faith agreed to because it didn't rely on him marrying her mom. He reveals the Thailand plan, and the lawyers are like, well, I don't know how that's going to work because gay marriage is not legalized in Thailand. And he's like, that's weird because I have friends that are married and they live in Thailand. And they're like, I don't know how that happened because it's not legalized. You could probably get married in Taiwan. I shouldn't be shocked that he didn't do any research, but also I feel like he keeps bragging that he does all this research because he really wants to make this Philippines plan work. But this plan has holes in it, okay? So then the lawyers are like, well, you can get married, in other places like maybe Taiwan, but just know that that marriage is still not going to be acknowledged in the Philippines because it's against our law. So it will help you, though, to be recognized to apply for a spousal visa or the K-1 visa to get Faith to America. And you see just like the shift in him and then the shift in Faith, because Faith wants to go to America. She wants to give her family a better life, and she loves Loren. Loren does not love Faith. Faith is a pawn in his plan. He wants to move to the Philippines. These lawyers wasting his time talking about, oh, how you can get her in America. This would be music to someone's ears that actually wants to have longevity with Faith. If this was an actual love union, he'd be like, oh my God, okay, like I guess we can't do it by the route of Philippines, but at least our marriage will be acknowledged somewhere and we can have a life together. That is not what Loren wants. This has ruined everything in his eyes, and he cannot hide his disappointment. And so he's like, well, I don't have money, so like, a sponsorship, I would need to be making a certain type of income. And the lawyers are like, well, that sounds like you have something to figure out. Because obviously, if you're serious about creating a life with someone, you're going to get your situation in order. But again, this man is not trying to create order in his life. He's trying to run away from responsibilities. And in his one-on-one interview, he's like, I'm devastated because I don't know how long I'm going to have to be apart from the love of my life. And it's like, sir, we know that's not the reason you're devastated, okay? So it's their final night in the Philippines, and he apparently splurged on like a really fancy hotel with his remaining funds. These two are engaged. They've barely kissed. They haven't been intimate. They have plans that contradict themselves. It is just a mess. I'm sure that you as a viewer are also looking at this like, what is happening? Meanwhile, Faith is here like, this is the nicest hotel I've ever been in. Wow, like, now that we're engaged, like maybe we can be intimate, like we can take it all the way. And I'm screaming through my screen. I'm like, Faith, don't. Please, like, don't, like, this man does not deserve you. In her lens, like, I get it, right? Like, she's like, oh my God, like, this is my own version of Pretty Woman. So they're in this hotel, and they're supposed to, turn up the romance. And Loren, he is looking there like a turd, okay? He cannot hide the fact that he is just down and out over what the lawyers told him, okay? It's funny because he thinks that he's hiding it. He is so checked out. And it's just so, it's kind of startling for me, right? And I'm sure it would be startling for Faith. You have someone that is constantly love bombing you, saying how much they love you, how beautiful you are, how they want a life with you, how they want this, how they want that. And then all of a sudden, it is like a switch goes off. You are no longer of use to them, so they don't feel like they have to pretend. They don't feel like they even have to show you just like a bit of kindness because they're seated there. And Faith is like, so what's our plan? Like, what are we gonna do? He says, I don't have a plan. I have a few friends that I can stay with. So we'll see. So again, he plans to be a bum. And again, he's not making plans for your future. He's just thinking about where he's gonna lay next because now you've ruined his big picture. And she's really trying to roll with the punches. She's still not like, being like, oh, you're being fake, like, this is a good thing that I get to go to America. She's not doing any of that. She's trying to make the best of their final night. She tries to take a picture, and he's like, being a sourpuss about it. And she's like, say cheese. And he's just being a grump. So immediately, I could see her reading the room. Faith decides to take matters in her own hands, and she starts bringing up, like, hey, you need to, get a lawyer to start talking paperwork. And he's like, we don't need to get a lawyer. And as she's trying to have this serious conversation about their future, he starts playing with a beer can, starts smashing it on his head. And she's like, is this your version of romance? Like, do you think it's appropriate to do that in front of me? He's acting like a frat boy, okay? But then it gets worse because then he starts like being kind of like manic with his hands and starts playing with a butter knife. Faith is looking at him like, hello? Like, can you not do that? Like, what's your deal? Is this normal to you? And she basically tells him to stop. And he's just not receptive to her needs, not receptive to the fact that like she's needing more attention, nothing. And Faith is just like, you know what? This isn't it. She felt super uncomfortable, and she just took off her ring and then dropped it. And initially I was like, oh, like, I think she knew that she shouldn't have accepted that ring to begin with. And I thought that in this moment, she registered that like he no longer needs her, so he's being a jerk. But then I was like, oh my God, like, she is a trans woman. This is her first real relationship. And he has proven himself to be untrustworthy. So many trans women are assaulted or unalived by their intimate partners. Men that either have shame about being with them and in turn hate them. Men that have malicious intent from the beginning. There's a plethora of reasons why trans women are vulnerable. And that scene was super triggering to Faith. And she had to run. And I'm so happy that she listened to her instinct. Not because I think that Loren would have done something. I hope not. And also producers and stuff were in the room. But because I feel like, one, we never know what goes on when the cameras aren't there. But two, this man from the start has had questionable intentions with Faith. I can't say that it would have ever gotten violent. I don't know that. From the start, I have called it, he is a chaser. He doesn't see her as a person. He sees her as a sexual object / a means to an end. And getting out of the room when she did, I think was the best decision. And I hope that she doesn't get back with him. I think they'll see each other next episode because he's going to try to like apologize. But I hope that that is the end of it. Seeing Faith literally like shaking outside of the hotel room, being like, I don't know, like that was scary. The fact that he didn't care, that was scary to me. Like that's questionable behavior. And I agree. I think that he is a little off his rocker. And I've been seeing things online of him being like, oh, I'm playing a character. You're making those choices. Character or not, you are making those choices. And for someone that is bragging that he like knows all the ins and outs of the community, that he's an ally, that he has like trans friends, that he has drag queens as friends, like the fact that he could be so aloof to how his actions can be deemed as dangerous, it is so disrespectful, so irresponsible. I don't want to see this guy again in anything in the franchise because he's honestly repulsive. I would love to know what you guys thought about that because it was heavy. Let's move on to something a little lighter though. We're going to move on to Vanja and Josko because apparently Josko is now getting his own like little imagery thing that they put. I am shook at how things have developed. Vanja says she's going to meet up with Josko. They're going to have a little jacuzzi date. She shows up. He's already in there. She immediately shows her bathing suit. And y'all, they don't even drink their drinks. They're immediately making out. And I love that for them. It's funny because he was like, you know, I was afraid that I was her rebound. But, you know, I really like her. We've been talking a lot between dates. And like, I think that there's something real here. And I'm like, at this point, could we even consider Bozo a boyfriend? So no, I don't think Josko is necessarily a rebound. But they're in this jacuzzi and he's giving her the dreamy eyes. And he's like, I can't believe any guy would ever dream of letting you go, you know? And they get to talking about their past. And this is where she reveals that she's been celibate for 6 years. And Josko is so confused because he's like, 6 years? You haven't done anything. You haven't used any vibrating toys. And she's like, Jessica, stop. Because obviously, self-love is different. But he's hyping her up. He's like, you know, I hear that when women hold off for that many years, they're wild in the sack. And she's like, Jessica. But she's like, Jessica, you know what? I just want to do it with someone that I have a connection with. And she's giving him the eyes, basically being like, you could be the one. Who knows? But then they go back to her apartment. And I'm thinking it's going down because the way this man picks her up, I could only dream of getting picked up like that. So I'm like, things are getting hot and heavy. But then the next morning we see them. They did sleep together, but they didn't sleep together. But Vanya's holding back because she's like, if we go there, I'm going to be in too deep. So I just want to make sure that we're on the same page before we hit that territory, which I get it. Do I wish that she would let herself have some fun? Absolutely. but also everyone knows themselves. If you feel like you're going to be in love and you're going to be extra clingy the minute you are intimate, then it's best to hold off until you are sure. But I'm loving Joshko, you guys, because I don't feel like he's pushy. If anything, I feel like he feels satisfied with the connection that they have been establishing. And I love that he's the one that like leads these conversations. Usually I feel like it's always the woman that's like, so what are we? What would you like to do? This and that. And I love when a man makes it clear that he wants you. If I have to guess if you like me or not, if you want to be here, if you want to see me, like I don't want it. And so Joshko is proving from the start that like he is a man that knows what he wants. But after they wake up together and they have that moment where they're like, they go for like a hike, I think at a castle. They get to the castle and then they have a really important talk. And I love that he's the one that's leading this conversation. He wants to establish some things. He's like, listen, what do you think about me having a kid? Because after all, I am a package deal. And I love that they had this conversation because initially it was unclear as to why Vanya was like a little standoffish about this. But she's like, I love children. I just think that I put off the idea of being with someone with kids because my ex-fiance that I was with for 6 years had a daughter and I loved her and I watched her grow up. And then when we separated, I couldn't have access to her anymore. And that's super heartbreaking. This is obviously a wound for her and she's crying and he's doing a good job in consoling her and just holding that space for her. And he's super understanding of it all. And this is where I'm like, as he's hugging her, you guys, he's like, we've only had 3 dates, but I see how much love you have inside of you. He's like, I want you in my life. I want you in his life. And for a moment, I was like, I love what he's saying, but is this love bombing? Could this be real? What is going on? He's saying all the right things. And I want this for Vanya. And I hope that he's being true because I think that like, first of all, you're saying all of those things unprovoked. So you better be saying the truth because if you're lying, that's a whole other thing. I want to take it at face value. What did you guys think about that? Because I was holding my breath. I couldn't believe that he was just so like forward about his intentions. It's just such a wild turn of events because like Vanya came in wanting these things from a different man. And it's just so crazy that she's ending this trip with a whole other man telling her exactly what she needs to hear. And she's like, I don't know if I'm good enough. That broke my heart because she's such a beautiful, accomplished woman, but she's broken. And obviously, like many things in our lives can cause us to break. But I just want her to find that strength again because she's been saying that she wants certain things and here she is getting it and she doesn't know how to receive it because she herself doesn't feel worthy and she's so worthy and she's so capable of handling any relationship. I mean, this woman has 4 jobs. So then after this hiking situation, they go back to their room and I know that Vanya is so in her head because she's not listening to what this man is telling her because she's not receiving it. She's in here being like, so he hasn't discussed yet what we should do next. So like, I'm nervous if we need to talk about that. And I'm like, Vanya, what did you think that talk was about? He literally said flat out, I want you in my life. I want you in my child's life. That means he wants to be with you. Like, what are you not getting, girl? So they change, they go out for a little walk. And then I love that again. Joshko is like, so yeah, so I think we have to plan so that I can go to Orlando for a few days. And she's like, really? Girl, this man is not wasting time. I love that he's leading with intention. He's not making her beg for crumbs. And she's like, so like, are we doing long distance? Like, does that mean you're my boyfriend? And he's like, yeah. Joshko's flat out like, this is worth trying. And I just gotta say that this is probably the smoothest, quickest what are we talk I've ever seen. So on a high of like making it official, I think it's safe to say that they broke the celibacy spell. They'll confirm the next episode, but the way that they ended this episode, I'm like, oh, it went down. The way that she jumped to lock the door to close it from the cameras, I was like, yeah. Let's move on to Joe and Magda. So it is the day that Joe is finally going to meet Magda's mom, and they're getting a bouquet of flowers, the biggest bouquet I've ever seen. They get her favorite treats, and it's a big deal because this is Magda's bestie. But what Joe doesn't know is that Magda tells her mom everything, to a fault. So he's in this car like, yeah, parents love me. I just don't know. Like, I'm just so good with parents. And she's like, because he has no idea that she has already thrown him under the bus. Joe is on his best behavior. He's opening doors like a gentleman, pulling out chairs. And while the mom isn't necessarily being mean, she is being a little like, I don't know if it's cultural. I don't know if it's just, I think you're using my daughter. Like, it was just so quiet on that table. And Magda wasn't facilitating the conversation either. So Joe had to like take out the translator app and tried his best to hold the conversation. The mom is like, tell him to tell me how he feels about you. And Joe tries to make a joke with the translator app like, you know, if I hurt her, she'll kill me. And it fell flat. But ultimately, he's like, I love her. So after that, the mom is like, well, let him know that I am still upset about what he did. And this is where Magda is like, yeah, she knows that you slept with that girl. And Joe is like, why would you tell her that? Why would you do that? And Magda's like, well, she's my best friend. And tell her everything. And it's like, I agree with Joe. I feel like you're not setting me up for success. Like, you say you want her to like me, but why would you tell her that I did this? And I feel bad a little bit because I'm like, a cheater is a cheater and I will never condone that. But I don't think Joe cheated. These two had not established that they were exclusive. They hadn't even met yet. Like, that's a lot of pressure to put on someone. And I don't know if her mom either has the same standard that the minute you start talking, you shouldn't sleep with anyone, or that maybe Magda didn't break down to her mom the fact that they were on different timelines. The point is, you hurt my daughter, I'm gonna hurt you. So like, I get why she's defensive, but it's just like, Magda, you gotta pick your battles. You can't tell your peoples everything, especially if you're going to stay with this person. Because while you may get over it, your loved ones don't owe him shit. They're not gonna get over it. So Joe is like, I don't know what to do. So he starts rambling on this app, being like, I would never hurt her again. Like, I know better. And then he starts being like, you know, I love her. I want to see a life with her. Like, I want us to get married. And like, I know that he wants that, but they just had a fight about the fact that he doesn't want to be rushed into it. So maybe don't make promises to her mother. Like, these women are intense and they're going to hold you to it. And rightfully so. You should live up to your word. So don't say things you don't mean. Ultimately, he's like, I came all this way for her. I'm serious about her. And the mom seems satisfied with it. But she's also like, I want to make sure that she's going to be okay when she goes to America with you. I'm worried that you're using my daughter as a toy, so I want to make sure that you take her seriously. And hearing you say that makes me feel a little better, basically. But she's worried about how things are going to be in America. And Joe makes a joke again that he's like, well, I love Poland. I may move here. And he's like, JK, life is going to be amazing in America. But then the drama, I think, this season will be the fact that he's friends with his ex. And this is how it comes up. So they're playing volleyball. They're playing against these dudes. Joe is terrible at volleyball. Terrible. Magda is playing in like a bathing suit. So I think this makes him ask at the end, like, hey, so like, are you always playing with guys? And she's like, sometimes. I don't like to, but sometimes. And he's like, do they ever hit on you? And she's like, yeah, sometimes, but like, I wouldn't date a guy that I have to see at tournaments. Like, it would be awkward because like, you would have to be friendly, and like, I can't be friendly with an ex. No one can be friends with an ex, really. And he's like, oh yeah, you don't think exes can be friends? And she's like, no, if you're friends with an ex, that means that there's feelings involved. Right. So the problem is that Joe has been friends with one of his exes for like 15 years or so. They dated, I remember they said a few episodes ago, they dated like 7 years ago, and it was like a short relationship, but they've been friends for a long time, and she's in his inner circle. Magda has no idea. And it's going to explode in her face this next episode when he finally comes clean, because she's going to be like, you lied to me. And omission is a lie. So he's going to have to deal with the consequences of that. Let's move on to Tigerlily&Adnan. It's Tigerlily's last day in Turkey, and per usual, she's doing the thing that she always does. She's like, I have an internal struggle. There's so many red flags in my marriage. There's so many things I don't agree with, but I don't want to rock the boat. It's my final day. I want us to have a good time. So she doesn't really address anything. They remind us again that they've been putting in time to get pregnant, and she just wants to discuss options with her husband because she's like, I'm 20-something years older than you. I may not be able to get pregnant. We've been trying for a long time. Like, what else can we do? And he's like, oh, there's options because I can get married to other women. And she's like, I will off you. I will run back to America with your head if you ever think that you're going to have another wife. And I don't know why they even bother talking about this really, because he's not going to get another wife. He says that he has childhood trauma from it. Apparently his dad had extra wives when he was a kid, and that made Adnan's mom divorce Adnan's dad, and he just saw her have so much pain, and he just doesn't believe in having extra wives because of the pain that it inflicted in his family. So I'm like, why would you even toy with the idea in front of your wife? Like, did a producer put you up to it? Or are you just being a prick? You know? Like, why even bring it up? They end this conversation with just being like, we're going to keep trying. Like, you're going to get pregnant. We're just going to keep trying. And Tigerlily is like, okay, I guess. And that's the end of the conversation. So finally, she has to leave Turkey. Tigerlily looks like crap. And I don't mean that in a like aesthetic way, because I think she's a beautiful woman. I mean, she looks like crap. Like, she looks like what I look like when I've been throwing up all day. So immediately I'm like, she's pregnant. She just looks sick, you know? And I'm like, something's cooking up in there, right? They get to the airport. She's crying. She's leaving. He starts crying the minute she leaves because he's like, I don't like her to see me like that, but this is really hard to be apart. And this is probably the first moment that I've ever been like, you do love her, ? Adnan has a lot of growing to do, for sure, but I think that this was the first time that I actually believed that he loves her and that he misses her and that he yearns to have a future with her. Like, he's like, she's my wife, she's my life. And I'm like, okay, poetry. Then we see Tigerlily 2 weeks later. And she's like, I'm feeling some abdominal pain, some back pain. She's taken a test and it comes back positive. And it's funny because Adnan was calling her right when she saw the test, and she's like, I'm gonna go and tell him in person. But now she's panicking because she's like, I'm pregnant. His visa papers still haven't gone through, so I don't know when my husband is gonna be here. I don't wanna raise a child by myself. Like, what are we doing? So yeah, that's probably something that they should have thought about before they were intentionally planning on starting a family. But then again, these two got married the same day that they met. So wishful thinking. Also, the way that I rolled my eyes when Tigerlily was like, I gotta figure out how to add another car seat in my Lamborghini. I'm like, girl, that is not a problem. But spoiler alert, this man is in America. And I say spoiler alert, oh really, Tigerlily&Adnan have been posting left and right visuals of them in America. So yeah, I think they're gonna be fine. Let's move on to the next couple, Sunny and Veah. I have never wanted to drag, that's not true. I want to drag many people on this show. But in this episode, I really wanted to drag Sunny. Because I'm like, Sunny, why are you blaming everyone else for the fact that you just remembered that you're Muslim? For the fact that you just remembered that it is important for you that your parents approve of your spouse. But then you go and find the most off-the-wall American that has tattoos, that is friends with exes, that is sexually free, all beautiful things, all things you said you wanted. But then you're like, oh, all things that are beautiful, empowering, free. And you want to grab this free bird and be like, I'm going to cage you because I wasn't honest about my actual intentions. Screw you. That's just how I'm feeling about Sunny. I hate a liar. He deceived her from day one because she, from the start, was like, if being Muslim is important to you, you need to tell me because I'm telling you that it's not happening. And he's like, oh, like, we don't have to talk about it yet. Like, we'll get to it. Like, I just want us to establish a relationship. You wanted to establish a relationship because you thought that if you were in love and she wasn't too deep, that then she would have no choice but to convert. And that's not how it works. But let's start from the top, shall we? So these two are going on like a little getaway. They're completely ignoring the fact that the meeting with his dad blew up in their faces. And they're just like, let's make the best of like my final days in South Africa. Veah, though, in her one-on-one is like, I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little confused because everyone in Sunny's life is saying that, being Muslim is important. But Sunny has never said that that was important to him. And when I try to have a conversation, he avoids it. So I don't really know what's up. But I don't want to fight. I don't want any drama. I want us to enjoy this time together. They arrive to this beautiful place. There's rose petals all over, champagne. Meanwhile, in his voiceover, Sunny's like, I feel guilty because I haven't told Veah that I actually want a Muslim wife. Then they pan to him in the room, and he is the face of hypocrisy. Because he has Veah parading for him in this lingerie. He's like, yeah, let's mess up the bed. Let's mess up the rose petals. Let's give it a go. And I'm just like, is it appropriate to have your future wife paraded like this on television? I'm pretty sure it's not. I'm pretty sure it's not okay to drink alcohol. I'm pretty sure it's not okay to have premarital sex. There's a lot of things that, he does for his benefit. Because I'm pretty sure the person that he says his family wants for him wouldn't be able to do those things with him. He is reaping the benefits of being with Veah and then being like, but you can't do it anymore. Y'all, did you notice how high her lingerie was? She looked hot, but it was so high that they had to blur her pubes. I was like mortified. But the next time we see them, we're at this beautiful resort. You guys, there are so many animals. There's zebras, there's monkeys. They see like a Zulu dance performance. At one point, they get brought up to dance as well. And of course, Sunny starts commenting on Veah's butt and the movement that it's making. And he's like, oh, you should do that tonight. And then he's like, you know what? Do you want to go to the toilet? Can you imagine this specimen telling you that he wants to have a quickie in the bathroom on camera and then also being like, but you can't wear a crop top? Like, I'm sorry, a crop top is where you draw the line, but you're out here sexualizing her on camera. And this is what makes me believe that while Sunny may love Veah, he is checking a box with her. Because I just can't imagine, with the beliefs that he says he has, doing something like this to my future wife. Like, I don't think that this is someone that he's actually going to go all the way with. And now that I think of it, maybe Sunny is just pulling up with theatrics. Maybe he knows all along that she's never going to convert, and he just wants to have sex with her. He wants to go up and down with a white girl. He wants TV time, whatever notoriety that comes with. And then he wants to leave her and get him a nice little Muslim girl. Maybe that's his plan. Because I just can't imagine saying that you want to be with someone that's conservative and then talking in the way that he does about Veah on camera. Like, let's go ahead and show your dad this clip and see how good of a boy he thinks you are. But the time has come. They are at dinner. And he's like, so what do you see for our future? She's like, I want us to be alone together in the middle of nowhere with animals, happy. And so then he's like, I've been patient and I've been hiding something from you, but like, my religion is important to me. So in order for us to be together, like, you have to convert. You have to. And the way that he says you have to, I was like, oh. And I'm like, is this why you wanted her to be in love, so she could feel like she has no choice? And so Veah is like, we can believe in different things and still be together. And he's like, well, if you can't accept my religion, this isn't going to work. And it's like, she is accepting your religion. What she's not accepting is you coercing her into converting. That's very different. So Veah flat out is like, listen, you have never brought this up before, and it's coming up a lot with your dad, it's coming up with your friends. Could it be that you're letting like outsiders influence you? Because again, like we've been together for X amount of time and you've never even shown me that it was of importance. And I love that she calls out, she's like, it's interesting that you want to be strict about this because you are not strict about anything else. We've seen pictures of him partying, drinking, having sex, like he's out here. And when she says that, you can see that he's like about to break because he doesn't like to get called out for his hypocrisy. And he's like, well, you know, like I asked for forgiveness, like I'm not perfect. But yeah, that's the point. Like you ask for forgiveness, but then you do it again and again and again. And so I get from Veah's perspective that like you sought her out. You knew she wasn't Muslim from the beginning. So why does she have to change when you sought her out and you never mentioned that it was of importance? And that's what Veah says. She's like, why does your religion matter more than mine? And she tells him, she's like, you know, I don't like this idea of being forced into a religion. Remember, like I was part of like a cult, that it was like forced on me. And he's like, no, like this isn't the same. And she's like, but it is the same because I'm not choosing to be Muslim. You are saying that I have to convert for you. That is not my choice. Veah is wisening up because I feel like sometimes there's nothing in here, but I love that she's clocking it. That's like, no. Don't try to make me think like I'm choosing to do this because I'm choosing you. I can choose you and not want to do this. And I told you that from the beginning, okay? And then he passive aggressively is like, let me try it one more time. Let me tell you this one more time. And it's like, no, sir, you don't need to say it one more time. She heard you, she understood you, and she said no. He's like, if you can't convert, I can't be with you. And she's like, well, I mean, I don't know what to tell you because I'm not going to be Muslim. And he walks off like a child and he loves a dramatic exit. No one loves a dramatic exit more than that little man. And he calls her selfish, I think, at one point. And like, she's not being selfish. You are being selfish because you thought that you could change someone's mind because they were in love with you. There's a word for that. That's manipulative. You started this relationship based on lies and you are getting called out for it. And you just have to own up to it. I made this mistake. I should have told you from the beginning. I guess we've hit a crossroads. I'm pretty sure that that's against everything to force someone into converting. Like, this is something that they should come to on their own. Their beliefs should be aligned. They should feel drawn to it spiritually. This is not the way. And she tries to like talk to him about it and he just like runs off to their hotel room. And it looks like he's packing, but I think we're going to see them the next episode. I think he's going to continue manipulating her, being like, I'm choosing you over everyone. Everyone hates me. Everyone's against our relationship. Like, why won't you do this for us? I know that that's the move that he's going to pull. And it is just disgusting. Someone call up Rory immediately. I also have a theory that he's going to guilt trip her with a ring because in the preview they showed us that he had come to this place with a ring. So I think he's going to be like, this could be yours if you convert. It's bullshit, honestly. We're also going to see Joshko visiting Vanja, which I think is like crazy. Like, what timeline are we on? How is this moving so fast? But it looks like something's going to go off, so I'm a little worried. We're also going to see Joe tell Magda that he's friends with an ex and she's going to blow up, which is to be expected. It's going to be super chaotic. I can't wait to watch it. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Let me know your thoughts and I will see you in the next one.